This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so another one of the topics that was just discussed briefly last month was the maximum funding requests. It was mentioned about having a max of $2 million per project, along with $2 million per agency across all project applications. But I also wanted to provide an option that came from the previous call, which essentially broke the funding based upon project type. So you had category A projects, which received 75% of the available funding, and category B projects that received 25% available funding. As you can see there, that would show you, the numbers there show you what that would look like if we were to do that for this current call. So I just want to give you an opportunity to if there's anything, if you kind of have a preference as far as what direction we go, there's flexibility if we go with the option B as far as funding. Bear with me for a second. So the way we had it worded in the previous call, if the NPO did not receive applications totaling the amount of funding available for each project type, the scoring committee can recommend awarding funding to the applications received. Also, if the NPO does not receive enough applications to honor the funding split per agency, the scoring committee could decide to recommend planning council award funding to an agency exceeding the limits specified. And regardless, obviously, planning council ultimately has the decision as far as how funding is spread out. So that being said, does anyone have a preference as far as kind of which direction we go with the maximum funding?
Hi, this is Victoria with City of Greeley. Our preference would be option B. I think it just makes more sense for projects that score higher to be eligible for more funding. So that's our position on that.
Does anyone else have any thoughts? I know, Dana, I believe you were the one that proposed the $2 million, so I'm curious to know if you have I think it was, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to put you on the spot, but there were a couple of you that had brought up that number, so I was just curious what your thoughts were on the options. And again, I don't mean to put you on the spot if you don't have a feeling either way, but. And I don't know if anyone was on the previous call that would have some input on this, because obviously that was part of the process before. Becky, was anyone on the committee part of that process, do you know?
On the TAC? Yeah.
Yeah, well, from Evan's perspective, we don't generally play in the MMO area, so at least not yet. So, but it seems to me that if there's $2 million per agency in option A, but there's only 1.7, well, 2.2 million per agency in option B, so okay, that makes sense. I was looking at it in hands, but okay. So then option B does make the more sense from an agency perspective.
I think the 2 million just happened to be available funding.
Right.
Right. It was just the discussion, so I don't know that it was
okay.
Any reason for that.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because again, it had come up. Anna Rose had mentioned it at the council meeting, so I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page as far as how we approach this part of the process. So, unless anyone has any issue with it, we'll go with option B. If people are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So as I mentioned, CDOT recently released their program guidebook, literally this past Friday. And it includes a lot of the things that are in our guidebook and things we've talked about, which is, as an FYI, it does include regional allocations, match reduction or exemption process, combining MOF and other program funds, reporting requirements, along with CDOT contractor requirements and the match rates by county and municipality. So there's a lot of good other information in there to be more informed. And again, it's available on the CDOT website. I have a link provided there on the bottom of the slide. So, is there anyone from CDOT on the line right now on the call?
Hi, this is Phil Von Hake, Multimodal Planning at CDOT headquarters. What was the question?
No, I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything I was missing as far as what to share with the group regarding the program guidebook. I don't know if that's something you're personally aware of.
I'm not the one to ask about that, but
Okay. I just wanted to make sure Josie, one of the staff, wasn't on call to provide feedback as well. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything important.
I will pass that on, and maybe they can respond by the time we adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it. So now we're just going to move along to the application requirements. And the way I group them here is kind of based on kind of what the focus is of those particular requirements. So in terms of the MMOF program, like we talked about earlier, the match needs to be 50% unless your community qualifies for match reduction. You need to address at least one of the MMOF goals. And you need to meet or exceed the minimum MMOF request size for each application. In terms of funding, one important thing to note is the projects must be able to obligate funds prior to the deadlines. In terms of the 2050 RTP, roadway projects must be on a regionally significant corridor, or RSC, as identified in the 2050 RTP. Projects impacting an RSC or regional transit corridor, or RTC, must be consistent with the corridor visions in the plan. And then the project must address at least one 2050 RTP goal and one performance measure. In terms of the 2021 Active Transportation Plan, the projects must impact a regional active transportation corridor, or RATC, in the Active Transportation Plan, or provide safe route to school. And projects impacting an RATC must be consistent with the corridor visions in the 2021 ATP. In terms of other requirements, the project needs to comply with applicable local land use plans, local or regional transportation plans, and corridor studies. It needs to be within the NFRMPO boundary, which we'll talk about a little bit further later in the presentation. And then ITS projects must conform to the Region 4 ITS architecture and supporting Region 4 ITS strategic implementation plan. In terms of submission requirements, obviously you need to have a completed application. You need to include a project location map, as I said, that shows the project is within the NFRMPO boundary. You need to also include an equity analysis worksheet. Now, I can't recall if there was much conversation on that piece of the process, but essentially that's replacing the environmental justice requirement that was part of the previous call. You also need to include a detailed cost estimate, a letter of support, which is extremely important, by the mayor or the town administrator. And I want to note that an alternative to that is a resolution of support from local government council or board, if that's what the sponsor would prefer. You'll also need to have some attachments in addition to the application, including a CDOT letter of support if it's impacting, if it's ITS or it's impacting state highway. It needs to include a applicant's project prioritization by category, as well as a sustainable funding plan, such as an example of new transit service. And then as far as optional attachments, you can also include additional letters of support. So for the potential project ideas portion of this discussion, I just essentially put the different project types up on the screen. I just want to give people opportunity to talk about or discuss projects if there's something you'd like to share with the group. So if anyone has anything they'd like to share, I'll open it up to the floor.
You're talking about, are you asking us to talk to you about what we're thinking we might submit applications for?
Yeah, it's just kind of an open discussion. There's no.
Okay. Yeah, Severance is looking at submitting for additional funding for the road control. So that'd probably be a category A. And then the other item we're looking at is a roundabout further on County Road 74 as it comes into your community. It's at an intersection of two very populated neighborhoods onto Harmony Road, County Road 74. So we're looking at putting those two in the mix. Pretty important for our community, especially the latter.
Great, thanks for sharing. Anyone else want to share any project ideas?
We're considering.
Great, I'm funded, yes.
You get all the money on the table.
All the money. I'm so excited.
Transfer is considering buses always, and then maybe potentially a new fixed route transit. Is there a time limitation on the new fixed route transit? As far as like how long we can service the new route with these funds? It seemed like a limitation on the route, so we were just curious.
Well, this call covers fiscal year 24 to 28.
Okay. Alright, okay.
Anyone else?
Can I ask a question? When you just go back to the application, I'm just curious, I'm sure it's gonna be in there, but when you say optional attachments and letters of support, would that like be neighborhood supports or neighborhood groups or metro district support or school districts or just whoever?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
no limitation on that. So, yeah.
Just
Again,
keep
the
them all
main,
to one page.
Well, since I'm already funded, I don't even probably have to. Totally kidding.
again, the important thing and the necessary thing is include support from administrator, mayor, or something, have something,
Yeah.
right, saying that they back the project.
We're in the process of trying to decide, I think, and so I'd be reluctant to wait for competing groups.
Fair enough. Just, again, just want to give you an opportunity to talk about it if you want to. So. Okay. In terms of next steps, we're finalizing the draft for the MOF guidebook. So we'll be sending that out. I'll be sending that out tomorrow for your review. Again, a lot of it should look familiar to you. Hopefully there shouldn't be any surprises in there. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a workshop on October 7th. It'll be a hybrid option. And I'll be sending that invitation out to get on your calendars later today. And then as far as moving forward, there'll be planning council discussion on September 5th. And then we'll be coming back to you later in September to get your recommendation. And then planning council will be taking action at the October meeting. And we'll move from there.
What does an application workshop look like?
It's just kind of getting more into the details of the application form and the different worksheets, and kind of, I'll be providing some examples of previous applications so you get a sense of what those look like. So just kind of getting more into the details of the application itself.
Is it like one-on-one or is it in groups?
It'll, like I said, it'll be a hybrid for anyone who wants to attend. It's part of the TAC.
So good and bad examples, so we know what not to do.
We can do that. It'll also go through the equity analysis and what those resources are. They are the same ones that were in the call for projects last year. So for the federal sources, it's the same.
GIS stuff.
Yeah, the GIS and the data and everything. It's just walking through that again for those who haven't gone through that process yet,
Okay.
and being able to use it for this call.
So with that, that wraps up this part of the process. Does anyone have any other questions before we move forward?
Will the workshop cover how we submit to CDOT? In other words, are we going to reach out to those individuals depending on the project, or does it get funneled through the NPO?
Yes, it will, but it comes to us, and then we will submit them to the individual folks because they would prefer to have a package. I asked Josie what would be best for them. They would prefer to have a package of everything. So.
But we can, if we were playing, and I'm just asking the question, we can talk to them and.
Oh, yeah, you can talk to them.
And bounce ideas off them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. You don't have to go through us to do that.
And you'll send out that list of 4 folks that you were referencing?
Bryce
As far as
and all
the
the others.
I
contact
can,
or
it'll be a part of the guidebook.
Okay, so we'll get that at the workshop.
Well, no,
In
you'll
the
get that
guidebook
tomorrow.
that goes out
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been throwing a lot of dates in.
It's okay.
Okay, well, like I said, obviously, continue to feel free to reach out with questions, but yeah, like I said, you should be receiving the guidebook to look at tomorrow. Thank you.
Phil, do you have a question or is your hand just still up from before? Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so moving on, we're going into the 10-year project priority list. Becky.
Yes. So yes, once again, we're talking about the strategic priority list, which is based on the 2020 list that we created in concert with CDOT when they were developing their 10-year strategic pipeline of projects. And so we created our own list of projects to funnel into Region 4's list that then went to headquarters. And so we did come up with 6 priority corridors in working with Planning Council. So I-25, US 34, 85, 287, and then State Highways 14 and 392. And then in early January of 2020, we held a workshop at the Windsor Rec Center in person where we had council members and TAC members there to vote on the priorities for the different project types that we had. So we had roadway, we had 3 tiers of roadway projects, 3 tiers of non-motorized projects, and 3 tiers of transit projects. And those had come from the RTP, local transportation plans, the 2019 ballot initiatives that had not been successful, or was it 2018? Anyhow, so those ballot initiatives as well as CDOT had some projects as well. So we put all of those together, we did dot voting, we came up with our list of our priorities and our projects in our 3 different tiers. So since then, we've updated this list. Oh, sorry, probably the next slide. There was the TC criteria, you can go to the next slide. They updated this last in 2021 to include additional principles and guidance on equity as well as GHG, which we are taking into account since we do the GHG transportation plan, and that's something that we've had to do since 2022. So that's for us is nothing new, as well as social equity with the equity work that we've been doing with our calls for projects. So we incorporate that as we were going anyway. Next slide. So we're updating it now because we've updated it 3 times in the past. So we've updated it in 21, 22, and 23. The most recent update we did was for the 2050 RTP to put this list into the RTP to be a living list. It's separate, but it's incorporated so that if we update the list, we don't have to update the RTP, which is great. But we can also update it, keep it moving as projects get completed or as our funding total, if that changes for the region, things like that. So the 23 update, council reaffirmed the 6 priority corridors and confirmed that and reaffirmed the corridor-based approach to our list. So we do have individual projects, but it's based upon the corridors as opposed to, we're doing one thing on this corridor here, we're doing something else over here. We're doing, we did all of I-25 projects, and now we've started to go into 34 projects. This is sort of the next priority corridor. So in getting ready for this presentation to talk with you guys today, reviewed the list of projects from 23 and included that in the packet. I don't know if we have that we could pull up yet. There we go. So this was the tier 1 list, and it's really hard to see from here. But in looking at this list, there are several projects that have been funded or are moving forward. So the two 34 projects there, the third and the fourth one, we could probably take those off the list because they have been funded and are moving forward. And then I feel like there was another one. Oh, that was another list. So those we could remove and bring other projects onto the list because they've been funded. But the bigger request is the list that I attached, that were in the packet attached to this memo. If TAC members could go through and look for your particular area and agency, which of those projects have been funded or are no longer priorities for your community, and we can remove those from the list and then, have a more accurate, up-to-date list. Unless something is in the RTP, we can't add it to the list because it has to be something that was within the RTP and passed through conformity to be included. We're also wanting to know, is this something where we just update the list and we pull the next project up that's on 34? Or we just keep it as this and we just remove the projects? Or do we need to hold another workshop? Would that be something that would be useful and helpful to bring everyone back together to have a workshop? And so first I want to ask all of you to see if the workshop is something that you all feel would be useful and helpful and a good use of everyone's time before I go to council and recommend either TAC thinks it would be a good idea to have a workshop and we should do that and get together again, and then we work on the logistics, or to say, TAC says, it feels comfortable with this list moving forward, corridor level, and we'll just continue to move forward. What do you think, council? So,
How long ago was this list put together?
The first list back in January of 2020.
And how many people are here in this group that were in that group in 2020?
4. Evan, I think you might have been.
Yeah, no, it's a TAC group.
Yeah, and me. So, yeah, and then council, probably about half, maybe less than half. And so I think, personally, I think it would be a really good idea to get everyone together again to do the workshop, but I don't want to go through the trouble of scheduling and getting calendars and everything if you guys don't think that it would be useful and helpful. And if you don't think it would be useful and helpful to your elected officials as well.
Hi, this is Victoria with City of Greeley again. I like the idea of a workshop, but I also just want to say these two projects that you've identified to remove, I think they need to stay as priority projects. These are not fully funded, so I think it's really important that they stay on as priority projects.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're not fully
Yeah.
funded.
Then that's something we don't necessarily know. We just know that they have had some funding, and so that's why they're highlighted, not removed. But thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and I totally understand that. I just think we still need to, get the remaining funds, right? So telling that story, I think, is going to be important.
Absolutely, yeah.
And from, basically, the council's telling us that the next priority is 34, so that makes sense. And then after that, it's gonna be 85, 14, we don't know, but depends on where the traffic starts rolling. But yeah, at first I said no to getting back together again, but it's 5 years old-ish, so
Yeah.
it might be worth it to take a relook at it. But I don't see it changing a whole hell of a lot, even with the new faces involved, both at the council level and at the TAC level.
So I would request that the list that I sent, if you could look through them for your communities and then let me know which projects to take off. If I don't hear to take a project off, I'll leave it on. If there's anything I should take off, please let me know that. And then I will, when I talk to council at their September meeting, say TAC and staff are recommending we have a workshop, and then I'll work with them on timing and where and all of that good stuff. So, and we will strongly encourage in person, because I think that was very helpful, especially with the voting and getting people up to actually look at the projects. And I know it's old fashioned, but dot voting. So, but yeah.
Becky, I had a quick question. This is Nicole Hahn from the City of Loveland. We've been meeting as communities along US 34. I think Anna Rose was attending those from the NPO, and are working through updating a list of priorities and projects on US 34. Are you going to be, and I apologize, I came in a little bit late and missed some context. Are you going to be updating your 10-year priority list with adding additional work, or is it just taking away things that have been completed?
If there are projects and they fit within a project that is within the RTP, if it's something that we don't have to do an RTP amendment to add, yes, we will add that. And thank you for reminding me of the 34 TAC. Anyone who's on that or anything that comes from that, we would love to have those projects to incorporate as well. Because it could be something that we don't have to model, and we could add to the list, so like signals, striping, things like that.
Yeah, some of the bike and pedestrian needs that are coming forward as we're starting to see our cities grow together, I think, are some of the elements we want to make sure we get added.
Yeah, and then I think Jerome is coming to the meeting to work on that piece with you guys.
That's great. I think it might be, next week. Thank you.
Yes, but we would love to have that as well. So if multiple people send it to me, that's fine. As long as I get it, that'd be great. Well, then I will work on the request to council, and then you'll probably get a lot of emails from me to set this up and get this going. So thank you.
Thank you, Becky. We're skipping item number 8.
Yes. 8 will be on the agenda next month. Unfortunately, Jerome is sick today.
And it's like items 9, 10, and 11 are written reports, as are 12, 13, and 14. So we can go straight to roundtable.
Oh, no, Corey is going to do the mobility updates. Corey is
okay. Sorry, Corey.
I thought I was going to get out of having to talk. Just a couple mobility updates that are outside of the mobility committee minutes that should be in your packet. Like on the planning side, we are currently hiring a mobility planner and are accepting applications for that role. Also want to share that the trip scheduling portion of the Ride NoCo project launched last month, which, sounds like we're scheduling trips, but we're really, what we're able to do is now provide initial intake over the phone to support volunteer transportation providers, Saint, Raft, and 60 Plus Ride, which really will help cut down on the friction and time it takes to get registered for those services. So that's a big milestone for the program. And this project has really been, 3.5, 4 years in the making. Which really coincides with the Ride NoCo call center really taking off. I mean, we've had our busiest month in the history of the program in August this year, and we still have a week and a half to go. It's great that folks are discovering that Ride NoCo can be a resource to get connected to transportation services, but we also know that on the flip side, that means that people are struggling finding ways to move around their communities in the region. So we continue to collect data and put that back into our planning processes. And then the last piece I wanted to share is that as of last Monday, the town of Milliken joined Weld County communities with the Via Mobility service. So I'm excited to bring another community on board with that service that was funded by MMOF funds through the organization.
Hey, Corey. Any questions for Corey? I don't see any hands raised online. Thank you. And then go with the roundtable, I guess, unless there's something else for What have I left?
Yeah, I don't really have anything for this month for roundtable. Covered a few things last month, but yeah, hopefully some news on our consultant that we're about to hire here for our Safe Streets for All safety action plan. And so next month I should have news on that.
We also have no new updates this month.
I don't have a whole lot of the mobility hubs getting ready to open for the bus thing at Centura on I-25. Still haven't given us a firm date, mid to late September.
Larimer County, again, we're working on our transportation master plan update along with our SS4A safety action plan. And we're branding that Larimer on the Move. But we're also looking at a potential ballot measure for a 0.15% sales tax that would be specific for transportation funding in the unincorporated areas of Larimer County. So you'll start to probably be hearing some things about that. The commissioners are going to start pushing that out, and they have to make a decision by September 6th about actually putting it on the ballot. So we've done a lot of community outreach. We've been to Red Feather, LaPorte, Berthoud. We were at the Larimer County Fair, and a couple other random pop-up events. So trying to get the word out and move that project forward.
Would that be in April or November ballot next year?
November this year.
This year, oh, wow. Speedy.
We've been working on it for a while.
Okay.
We're starting to get the word out now.
Okay.
Well, we do have a ballot issue for transportation. So the council initiated, as you all know, Severance is highly residential, like hardly any commercial. So residential doesn't always pay for itself. Lots of metro districts. The council initiated a fee placed on the water bill, $15 a month per customer, to help with upkeep and maintenance of existing roads in the community, in lieu of getting this initiative on the ballot for an actual tax that will replace the fee. So the tax, don't quote me, I think it was either 1%, 3% will go on sales tax. We don't have a lot of sales tax, but it would be put on impact fees when people are applying for building permits. So it would, in essence, go back to new builds in our community, which right now we're not building because we don't have water, because we're in North Weld. But we'll bore you with all of Severance's issues. But that's an interesting task that the town and community has taken on. We do have a consultant helping pave that way with that initiative. So we'll see what happens, but that does go to the voters in November. So something a little different for little town Severance.
Fort Collins is finalizing its 10-year transportation capital improvement program tool, where we've taken projects that stem from the various plans we put together that have been adopted by council, like our active modes plan, or our arterial intersection plan, or TCAPS is what it's called, Transportation Capital Projects Prioritization Study, but also our bridge program and some of the other feeder programs for those transportation capital needs, and trying to prioritize those against all of the city's other goals around climate action, urban forestry, any number of criteria, so that we can reorder the list depending on funding opportunities or priorities or funding streams that are coming in locally for these projects. So we're excited about having that tool.
So I have taken over the tip from Anna Rose, a modification on Friday, an amendment went out just before today with the dual amendment. If anyone here works with that, please let me know if I did anything wrong, because I'm very new to this. And then for the next meeting, we will have at least one amendment to talk about with transport accessibility improvements.
So I don't have any more updates, but I did forget something as part of the discussion at MMOF. I had mentioned that we're going to have a applicant workshop in October. And I just want to know if people had a preference as far as whether you wanted the meeting in the morning or in the afternoon. it would be about an hour and a half is what we're thinking as far as the amount of time, 9:30 to 11 or 1:30 to 3, just get a general sense if you have a preference about time for the workshop. Otherwise, I'll just schedule it for what works for us.
I don't have a preference, morning or afternoon. If I can make it, I'll make it, even though we may not play, but I want to know how to play, when we get to play.
I'll take the silences meeting, we'll figure it out, okay. That's all I have.
Well, I'm 6 weeks in, so I joined your last TAC meeting online, and then I think typically that's probably what I'll continue to do. I know that was kind of Suzette's routine, because normally these meetings happen at the same time as the Transportation Commission workshop as well, so that way you can kind of have 2 meetings going at the same time. But this one didn't overlap, so it gave me a chance to come and be in person with all of you. So it's great to visit with you in person. Also, I'm over the past 6 weeks and going into the following months, I'm making the rounds and visiting with our council members, and a lot of cases going to your communities. And in some cases, those council members have wanted to just be one-on-one with me. In other cases, they've been pulling either you or public works directors or city managers into those conversations, kind of depending on what the council member wants. So it's great to get to visit with you here, and some of you I'll see in that environment as well as I visit with the council members. And yeah, I expect for most of these I'll probably be attending, but online, except in the odd case where I'm able to be here in person.
For Daniel gives the city updates, and I'll get the transport updates. But we're getting ready to resubmit for project rating for the FY26 Small Starts Construction Grant for West Elizabeth. That's this Friday, so let us.
I don't have anything.
So, a couple things. Number one, 37th Street, which is under construction, is now open to traffic. We got it done right after school started, so we're close. So we're happy about that. We're gonna finish that up over the next month or so. Council has directed me to make a push next year to show off what our 1 penny sales tax can do. So we're gonna try to do $6 million worth of maintenance work next year on 4 major arterial roads in Evans. And with that, show the city what that 1 penny does, because it sunsets in 2027. So we'll be bringing it back to the voters probably in 2026. And hopefully they'll extend it so we can, because we've done a lot in the last 5 years with that penny. We've gone from a pavement condition index of 57 up to 67 in 5 years, which was not anticipated we'd get that far that fast, but we did. And then the final thing, and this is something I'm going to dive into a little bit more offline, but I went to a presentation at CSU last week, talking with a bunch of guys about the transformation of project delivery in the digital age, and taking projects from paper to PDF to straight up everything's electronic, and everything's in the model. The model gets transmitted from the planner to the designer to the contractor, and then to the public works operations people on the back end. In the room, there were people from various communities. I think CDOT was there, Whiteout was there, and I'm gonna actually meet with some of these guys on Friday to talk about how Evans might go digital in ways to, number one, help with our tracking of all our projects, especially our maintenance projects. But secondly, also making the projects just more efficient from a project management perspective, is that we don't have to repeat the task or translate the task to another software. That's huge in terms of time savings, money savings, people savings. So I'm gonna start working on that a little bit more, and I might offer to bring that to this meeting as a discussion item sometime, not next month, but maybe October or November. Next month I won't be here because 1 week from today I will be in Spain, and I won't be back for 3 weeks. So thank you very much. Anybody online? Seeing none. I think we can adjourn.